Good morning and welcome to Emsi webinars. Thank you for joining us today. We're very excited about the topic we have for our webinar today. It's how we can help you prepare for the future with our new tool, the FE Analyst tool. We have Anthony Horn with us, who's our Sales Director at Emsi UK, and he will be doing a presentation. If you have any questions, please don't forget to put them in the questions box, and we'll get to those at the end of the presentation. So without any further ado, I'll hand over to Anthony. Good morning, Anthony.
Morning, Debbie. Thank you. Likewise, very excited to be here, and I'm very happy to be delivering today's session, where I'll be introducing you all to our new product, FE Analyst. What we're going to look at today, after a quick introduction to Emsi, I'll talk you through the background to FE Analyst, so why we have developed it. Then we'll have a look at typical usability, so what important questions FE Analyst will help you with and who will benefit from using the tool. And finally, I'll introduce how the system itself looks and how the workflows within FE Analyst will help you to answer those important questions in the coming weeks and months, as well as into the future. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Emsi, we are a global labour market data firm headquartered in the USA, with significant operations in a number of countries, including here in the UK, as well as Canada and Australia, and a number of other countries right around the globe. And our very focused mission is, having spent our time investing in comprehensive, reliable labour market and skills data, providing that data in user-friendly tools and reports so that you can make more informed decisions to help your business, and then to help local people, wider communities that you serve, employers and your regional labour markets to succeed. And we already work with hundreds of education and training and support organisations here in the UK doing just that. Now, generally speaking, when we talk about labour market and skills data, that means a combination of large-scale, well-organised structural data, which typically comes from central governmentally sourced entities and organisations like Office for National Statistics here in the UK, as well as big data, which tends to be less well-organised, sometimes very noisy and messy data that needs to be sourced from a wide variety of places. But that big data can give us extremely useful insight into specific skills, specific named employers in different towns, cities and regions, and their recruitment activity, and how all of that kind of activity is trending. So that kind of big data is very important right now, given the current situation we're all going through. And by combining structural data with big data, we see the most useful insights into labour market and skill needs. And FE Analyst does exactly that. So we've been developing FE Analyst as a tool now for 12 to 18 months. And what I wanted to do was just to talk you very briefly through the main reasons why we've done that and why we've developed the tool. Now, undoubtedly, the most important factor in the development of FE Analyst has been the involvement of our UK FE Innovation Group. And that group's made up of people from around 10 of our UK FE clients. And we've worked closely with that group over the last year or so through the final development cycle of FE Analyst. And just one of the members of that group is Claire Haywood, Vice Principal at Heart of Worcestershire College. And she recently talked about FE Analyst. And I won't read out Claire's quote in entirety, which you can see on screen here, but there are some really important things to take from it. First, the fact that we wanted to make FE Analyst relevant for more and more people within the sector. So you absolutely do not need to be a data expert to use the tool. You might only use the tool every so often. For example, you might be a curriculum manager and you only want to see labour market and skills data that's relevant to your department. That's absolutely fine. That should be easy to do. You shouldn't have to trawl through lots of data to find that. Secondly, that we wanted to make sure the tool is providing insight that's important, not just interesting, but important, as well as being easy to find. So 1 or 2 clicks and you have information that helps you to answer some very important questions, whether that be around curriculum intent, or validation of a new course or a new module within a course, or looking at which employees in your region you might want to consider targeting. So very operationally specific stuff, as well as being important strategically. And thirdly, both of those previous points were very much guided by external requirements and external factors, as well as the overall mission of the FE sector in continuing to be anchor institutions and continuing to remain relevant and really doing a good job in serving those local communities and local labour markets in which you work. Now, I've just mentioned some of those external factors and external requirements, and they were also extremely important in guiding the development of FE Analyst. Now, it might seem like Ofsted have disappeared off the radar a little bit in recent weeks, but we all know that they remain ready to inspect, and that the current handbook remains very much active and in place, and in some ways is probably more relevant than ever right now in terms of the skills that are needed in local and regional labour markets. And as those skills needs continue to evolve, both in the short and longer term, FE being extremely well placed to deliver to those new skills needs. FE Analyst will absolutely help you to identify what those skills are, and therefore will help you in your conversations with Ofsted. Another external factor and another external driver really for the development of FE Analyst were the Gatsby benchmarks. So as I mentioned earlier, we want FE Analyst to be useful to as many people within the sector as possible. So that includes, of course, colleagues in marketing, student services, careers teams, and any other support teams who are working with students to help connect them with local employers and help to connect them into their future career pathways. And then a pretty recent factor that has influenced our thinking and has influenced the development of FE Analyst has been this emerging theme of government-led, centrally driven change in the sector, whether that be through LEPs, whether it be rooted through skills advisory panels, which have got a lot of coverage, or even what we've seen in recent days about the revolution and potential rationalisation or nationalisation even of the sector, which the folks at FE Week have been reporting on since the beginning of this calendar year. But however all of that actually ends up playing out, whether it ends up being a lot of noise or whether there are actually any significant changes centrally to the sector, here at Emsi we think it remains really important for colleges and other providers in the sector to have direct access to information about your local labour market so that you can own that narrative and not just, for example, respond to data that LEPs are providing to you. You can have the data yourself and you can make informed decisions and really own what you're trying to do in the short excuse me, and medium term. And the final thing to mention here in terms of what has influenced the development of FE Analyst is, of course, COVID-19. I mentioned big data in an earlier slide, and it really is that data which is most useful right now in telling us about short-term impacts on the labour market. For example, that big data shows us that employer job postings in the UK has fallen by almost 40% from the beginning of March. That's just shy of 500,000 job postings lost since the beginning of March, since the beginning of lockdown. So whilst no one can yet predict the future and how this is all going to truly impact on jobs and industries in the longer term, we also know that FE colleges and providers could and should play a vital role in helping people and employers over the coming months. And so we wanted to make sure that FE Analyst helped with that in the immediate term for those colleges and providers who want to grasp that opportunity. Excuse me. So that's why we've developed FE Analyst. And with that in mind, let's now turn to the tool itself. And firstly, what are the key questions that FE Analyst is going to help you answer? Now, firstly, although we are in a period of huge change right now, it's still really important for you to understand the fundamental building blocks of your local economy and labour market. So, for example, how big is the engineering sector? How many people are employed in that sector and all other sectors? How has that trended over time? What are the big skills that are in demand and have been in demand over the past couple of years in your local labour market? Would you know the answer to those questions? Secondly, when we map your curriculum and course offering side by side with those jobs and skills demands for your local region, how does it stack up? How does it match? Next, when we think about employers, who are the most active employers in your region right now? What have they been doing in recent months? What jobs are they actively looking to recruit? And what specific skills are they looking for? How well are you aligned with all of that? And then finally, in this immediate term period, hopefully over the coming months and no more, which jobs are seeing unemployment in your local region? Which jobs are employers starting to recruit once things start to turn around? What skills are needed locally in your area to help the recovery? And what provision are you going to be offering to help? How does that all match up? Now, just with that in mind and those key questions in mind, hopefully you can already start to list out and think yourselves about who might use FE Analyst at your organisation. But as I've mentioned earlier, we've intentionally designed the tool to be applied across a range of teams. So firstly, those teams and those people who work across strategic and curriculum planning. So providers need that relevant and attractive provision that meets the needs of its local communities and labour markets, as well as meeting some of those external requirements that I touched on earlier, like Ofsted intent. Then business development teams, whether that be direct employer engagement work or bid writing or placement work, having really easy to use, reliable data about employers and skills demands in your region. That's got to be a good idea right now. And then marketing, student services, careers teams, employability teams. I'm sure colleagues in marketing teams, for example, are extremely busy right now with online marketing and social media campaigns and will continue to be so for the next academic year at least. So having direct access to locally specific information about your local and regional labour markets and how your provision is relevant to that to support and attract students as they navigate these unusual times, that also sounds like a really important thing to us right now. Now then, let's have a walk through some of the key workflows within the FE Analyst tool itself. Remember this slide from a few minutes ago when I talked about the key questions that FE Analyst will help you answer? Well, first up there was, what does your local economy and labour market actually look like? So the overview workflow in FE Analyst is going to help you here by providing one-click reports to tell you things like population and demographic data, qualification levels of the existing workforce in your region, the industries and jobs that employ most people in your area. And from there, you're going to be able to dig into more detail about those jobs and industry sectors individually in more detail, just to get some headline information about what really is going on in your local economy. What does it look like? The next question that I said FE Analyst is going to help you with is, how does your curriculum offer map against actual local labour market demand? The course development workflow within FE Analyst is your friend in this particular question. So that workflow within the tool is going to allow you to upload your course offering, so upload your curriculum plan. FE Analyst is then going to connect that to the relevant occupational data in your region and then see how that maps up against each other. So how are those jobs trending? How that looks by particular course area or a particular department in more detail. See which employers are recruiting for those jobs that relate to your departments or course areas, and which skills are particularly in demand in your local area. So to help with things like course intent, course validation, and new course development. The next thing that I promised FE Analyst will help you with it was about employers, so about employers themselves. So leaving aside courses for a second and thinking from the employer perspective, the job and employer engagement workflows within FE Analyst is going to help you out, and it's going to tell you things like which jobs are employers in your region recruiting for. So which jobs are they looking to fill? How easy is it or difficult is it for employers to fill vacancies in your area? What are the skills that are in demand from particular employers and recruiters in your area? How do those skills differ from technical job-specific skills through to cross-cutting skills locally? How does that all compare in your region versus the wider region, and how does it compare to other regions as well? And what skills do the existing workforce already have in your region? Are you adding to that existing skills base through the provision you have in place right now, or the provision that you're considering putting in place? And then the final question that FE Analyst is going to help you with is around COVID-19. So what jobs and skills is your region going to need, and what data can be helpful to you right now to help you start planning and delivering your response to that? So the COVID Regional Recovery Report is a specific workflow intended to help you access and harness the most relevant data from within the FE Analyst tool that's going to be most useful for you in this post-COVID course planning and course delivery phase. So we don't want you to have to search around within the tool to find this relevant data. We've built a specific workflow that's going to help you out there, and that's going to show you things like which jobs are seeing rising or indeed hopefully in time falling unemployment in your area. How does employee recruitment activity and demand map against that? And which jobs in your area have comparable skill requirements? So as you begin to plan your reskilling and your re-employment programs, that's going to be based on local data and actual local data on unemployment and employee demand, so that each month you're going to have a picture of how different jobs and how different groups of jobs are changing and how they're trending, and therefore how you can best respond to that. So how you can best target your offering to help individuals and employers as things like unemployment and employee demand change on a monthly basis. So that then is FE Analyst. They are the key workflows within the tool. We've gone through why we've developed it. What are the key questions, as we see on screen here, that the tool is going to help you with. We touched on who might use the tool, and then what the usability might actually look like. What are the workflows within FE Analyst? And I hope you are as excited by it and as enthused by it as we are. So what happens next? Well, we have a follow-up webinar exactly 1 week today. So that's same time, 11 AM, Tuesday, June 16th, where we'll run through those workflows within FE Analyst in a little more detail. So we'll have a look at some of the data and we can test out some of the data in the tool itself to give you an even better idea of how you might use it at your institution. So please do join us for that. We will send you the slides and recording from today's session, and we'll include registration details for next week's webinar in that also. But of course, don't feel like you have to wait until next week. If you'd like to have a chat and you'd like to have a one-to-one demo of the tool, or if you'd like a conversation about price and access options, then please do drop me an email or indeed give me a call. As you see, my details are on screen now, and they will be in the slides that we send you through. Not much more for me to say on today's webinar. Do we have any questions, Debbie?
Yes, we have a few questions. The first one is, how live is the data going to be with regards to labour market needs and current employment opportunities?
Yeah, it's a great question, and obviously very pertinent for these times. So as hopefully you've picked up through the webinar this morning, we're focusing a lot in FE Analyst around the big data, so the data around what's happening in your local labour market right now. So our job postings data is essentially live, so it's updated every day at our end. We will then be providing that data when it's kind of cleansed, so that's going to be largely on a weekly basis, but certainly each month there's going to be significant updates, for example, to the COVID recovery report. So the short answer is that it's as live as any data can be right now.
Okay, cool. And from the same person, it's how do you feel this compares to the Vector LMI tool, which a lot of colleges use at the moment? I mean, how can you see this is differing?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously don't necessarily want to go into much detail about other products and their strengths. But what I would say is that, as always with all Emsi products, the kind of fundamental that we start from is by providing the most comprehensive data that's available. So that means we have the most comprehensive data for industries, so industry sectors, for jobs or occupations, and then geographically as well. So getting right down to local authority level. And also, as I've just touched on there in the previous answer, we include that kind of live job posting information and live employee demand information, again, down to a very, very granular level. So you can be searching by skill, you can be searching by job title specific to your area. And I think that granularity and detail of data is something that we are stronger in than other providers, and I would suggest that level of detail is going to be increasingly important over the coming weeks and months.
Great. Okay. Thank you. And any other questions we can deal with per one-to-one, I think. So thanks for that, Anthony.
Fabulous. Well, thanks, Debbie. Thanks to you all for joining us today. We are really excited about FE Analyst and how it's going to be able to help the sector navigate through these tricky times and then start to prepare and move into the future. So thanks for listening this morning. Hope you can join us next week, and I also hope that I can be speaking to you all individually very soon. Have a great day.